Gold Invest. Explore opportunity.
Welcome to the latest Gold Invest interview. We're talking to Glenn Jessome today, CEO of advanced silver developer Silver Tiger Metals, SLVR, on the TSX Venture. The stock started moving already since the silver price broke through the mark of 36 US dollars per ounce a couple of days back, but we think there's still a lot of room left, especially as the company has some very big catalysts coming up. Welcome, Glenn.
Well, Bjorn, thank you so much for having me. It's just wonderful to get access to a European market. Our group out of Halifax here in Canada, on the east coast of Canada, is pretty well known throughout North America, but really nice to start to talk to your European shareholders or potential shareholders. Look, everybody talks to me about price. My good friend Florian Grummies, I'm sure a lot of your readers know him. I was on an interview with him. You should look at it a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the price, and he thinks the price is going here and there, and it's all wonderful. We've been doing this for almost 30 years, Bjorn. I'm sorry, but this is not all about price. This is about experienced mining teams that serially have built mines, and that's where the real value is. And it doesn't matter what the price environment is. We're to the point where, we spent the last decade and over $100 million of institutional money to get ready to build in this environment, which is very fortunate for us, the next great silver mine in the world. So yeah, we're just getting started. This is the first inning, but it's not all about price. It's about a decade of hard work by my team in Mexico that I'm very, very proud of. But what a nice environment to be doing it in with $36, $37 silver. It's fantastic.
Exactly. Well, you led me to my first question. Just shortly introduce yourself a bit more. Give us a bit of background, bit of track record of yourself and the team you mentioned.
I'm trained, I'm trained as a securities lawyer, Bjorn. I have and a business, so I've been taking companies public for decades. Very low number of high quality companies. I serve on the National Advisory Committee. I have for 15 years. I'm dating myself. The National Advisory Committee for the TSX Venture Exchange. So you have been really dealing exclusively with them. We've listed companies on the TSX. But the group that really I spend almost all my time working with as a security lawyer, bringing my skill set, has been, a group here out of Halifax that have been serial in Mexico. I joined it later. Basically building mines and selling them to majors. I think the track record now for the team is 3 put into production and 3 sold to majors. We have a couple of companies in the hunt right now, but that's very important. Like when I forget if you like Silver Tiger or not, and I'm speaking to your shareholders. Pick teams that have done it. It's so hard to do the first ones. Pick teams that have done it serially. People don't understand this, Bjorn, and I think they should. It's 1 in 1,000 companies that start drilling holes get to production. That's a real number. Go put it in AI and ask them. Secondly, it's 17 years on average from first drill hole to production. This is not a short-term game. So for us, our success in Mexico as a group has been, I think, unparalleled. And that's the first thing I'd say and the most important thing. This is all we do. We don't go to other countries. We don't say we're going here, we're going there. We're in Mexico. I'll be in Mexico, working on mining until my career is over, until I'm gone maybe. But that's really us. We're focused on Mexico, and we've been doing it forever. And our group builds mines, or in many cases, if the major wants it, they get it. That happened 3 times. We built 3 more.
It's a great exit too for investors. That was you. That was the team. To start us off on Silver Tiger, then please give us your 60-second investment pitch. Why is it worth the investors' time to think about taking a position in the company now? Well, apart from the price.
Number 1, we're ready to build El Tigre. So we're already 1 in 1,000. It's ready. It's done. All the work is done for the last 10 years. Got it in 17. We're ahead of the curve. We're ready to build it in 8 years. It'll take us 18 months to 24 months to build the open pit portion, which we'll talk about. Mexico was tough for the last 6 years before our new president came in, Claudia Sheinbaum. Fantastic things she's doing. Very much capitalist government. It was tough during AMLO. Everybody knows that if you watch Mexico. 25% of the silver in the world comes from Mexico every year. If you want silver, you better watch Mexico. Why do you think we're in Mexico? That being said, plus we love working there, and it's wonderful, and the people are amazing. But from my perspective, we raised over $100 million from the smartest institutions on the planet over the last 6-7 years to get to here. Franklin Templeton, Van Eck, Merck, I could go on and on and on. It's all on our website. Those people bet on us, bet on our track record, bet on the project, and now they're set for what's going to be an exponential, I think, return for them as we build this project. We're builders. We're 1 in 1,000. We're ready to build it. That's where all the value is. No more drill holes required. There'll be lots, but we don't have to prove anything. We've already proved it. And you're right now at the bottom of that Lassonde curve on the way up to extremely high value. We're just getting started.
That sounds great. You mentioned the mining working, of course, and that people, the company already know is called El Tigre. Just give us a really short overview. What kind of asset do you have there? What did you complete so far?
Let's talk about Mexico mining 101. I think it's important. What mining in Mexico has been, there are a few narrow vein underground silver and gold deposits. But let's start with 25% of the world's silver comes from Mexico. The vast majority comes from what we call a flowering epithermal system, where all those juices 30 million years ago came up and deposited in veins and in a stockwork at surface, high-grade silver and gold. It's always silver and gold mixed in these projects. We're about 70% silver, 30% gold overall when you combine underground and the open pit. Think about that flowering epithermal. At surface, you have a big stockwork where when those fluids came to surface, all of that gold and silver, not disseminated out into a 1 or 2 or 3 meter vein, but into 100 meters of mineralization at surface. That's your open pit. Then think about underground, where those fluids came up through and deposited in veins, 1, 2, 3 meters of 1, 2, 3, 20, 30. We've drilled as much as 100 kilos of silver, super high grade underground. So that's what this project was. We saw it in 2017. It really wasn't for sale. We bought a public company, delisted that public company, took the asset, and got to work. And what we will be, first step, will be a big, low CAPEX, we'll talk about it, very profitable open pit, take about 18 months to build, and then after that or during that period, you transition to the underground and long life underground mine underneath that open pit. That's in almost all cases the big districts and the big mines in Mexico. You could Mulatos, Pinos Altos, I could go on and on. And these have long lives. 20, 30 years is not out of the picture for these big districts. That's what we think. We're starting with 10 years of mine life, open pit and underground. That's going to expand greatly as we go forward. So that's a little picture of what it looks like. And if you want to get a little deeper in that, I can tell you what the economics are like, what it looks like, what we have to spend. But that's it. How did we get there? We spent over $120 million since 2017 from those institutions. And we drilled and we drilled and we drilled. And on the open pit, we delivered an MRE, 100 million silver equivalent ounces in the pit. Then you go through the process over a year or two of a PEA, a preliminary economic assessment. And then we get to a PFS for that open pit, which we will build on. I know we can build on that, because I have term sheets from lenders for the full $100 million CAPEX that I could sign tomorrow, relying on that study. Now, what about the underground? We drilled already off 113 million silver equivalent ounces in the underground. And get ready, because you're going to see here in the next several weeks, late June, early July, the first PEA, which is 4 years in the making, for that underground deposit. It will be matched up to 800 tons per day, the mill we have on the mountain already, and the permit we have for that underground. But that'll just be the starter for that. And remember, when people look at that PEA in 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it's going to be, that 800 will in time turn to 1,600 tons per day and maybe even more. That's just sort of the starter we're going to have for that underground. So exciting times. All that work is done. Look, if I was drilling holes right now and starting now, it would be wonderful, okay? I would be saying, look at these drill results, and people would love them, and the stock would go up, and I would say to them in the same vein, it's 10 years before I get any metal. Well, I did that 10 years ago. So now we're here, basically, our team, ready to build and, become the next great silver mine. That's what we think.
That's great, and it certainly got me all fired up already because we come in at a very interesting moment in time here. Let's talk a bit more about the PFS, the Preliminary Feasibility Study it's called. It's a very high standard of information you have there, but you said that was done a while back, and I assume at lower silver and gold prices, right? Can you tell us a bit about the economics there?
So look, we're very conservative. We, as I said, on with Florian, I sometimes shake my head where the price is and where he thinks it may be going, Grummies. And we did a great video a week or so ago. You should share that with your people that you distribute through, Bjorn. It was fascinating because I kept coming back and saying, you know, it doesn't have to go any higher. We're going to make so much money. It's at these prices. It's ridiculous. But let me tell you, we're conservative because we always have to look at the downside because mines have to work. If it goes to $45 silver, you make so much money, but we also want to know it's going to work at $20 silver, and this mine does. So we did the study at $2,150 gold. I think we're past that right now, and we did it at $26 silver. We're very conservative when it came out last year. Now, remember, there's three levels. There's PEA, PFS, and then feasibility. We are stopping at PFS because, very important to know this, the first 3 to 4 years of the pit's ore, I can't say it on the piece of paper, but it's at feasibility study level. All right, we drilled at 25-meter spacings. It's all reserve. It's just, you know, we made it so that and that's really for the lenders. Your PFS or feasibility is for the lender. If the lender says the 100 million CAPEX or the 100 million US we're going to borrow to build this thing, if they say that's great, you've done enough, which they have, then you stop on the studies. So that's where we're going to stop. $21.50 and $26. The economics were incredible. But let's talk about the economics on this thing, on this open pit alone. Remember, there's two parts. Open pit first, then underground. The economics today drive 86 million US CAPEX. All the dollars I'm talking about are at 86 million, or US dollars. 86 million. Look, go around and look at projects all over the world. 400 million, 800 million, 1.3 billion. Like that, you got to get that money first before you get the metal out. 86 million US is the CAPEX. That drives an after-tax, and this is at today's prices, MPV of 493 million US dollars. That's going to be important because I'm going to talk to you about the value proposition soon. So call that 750 million Canadian dollars because we trade in Canadian dollars. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Number two, an after-tax IRR of 69%, over 69%, a payback of 1.3 years. You pay all your capital back in 1.3 years. That's how profitable this open pit is. And here's the magic, 9-year mine life. Now remember, that pit will extend. That's what we optimize the pit with. And we're going to talk about who did that in a minute because I think it's very important, not me. Basically, over the 9 years, the project makes after-tax free cash flow, 675 million USD. So what is that? It's 80, 90 million dollars a year. Incredible. Look, go look at some of the big mining companies. They barely make much money. They trade dollars a lot. This is extremely profitable. And then you have that cash flow to drive exploration. Remember, all these ounces we've discovered are right around the old El Tigre mine, 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers. We've dug 10 kilometers on each side of it. We'll talk about it at the end, Bjorn. We need to explore that. How do you get 7, 8 drill rigs? You use that money. How do you develop that underground mine? You use that money. You know, that's how the magic of this open pit low capex. So very exciting. We can't wait to get that built. Let's talk about who's going to build it. 2 years ago, we had a fantastic coup. And that coup was basically that one of, we think, the best open pit mine builder in Mexico, a Mexican gentleman by the name of Francisco Albalez, left a company called Argonaut. Argonaut were the darling of the street. Many of your listeners will know about them. They built 2 of the biggest open pit heap leaches, very profitable over the 15 years before that in Sonora, where we are in Mexico. The gentleman that developed it, which means he drilled it, he developed it, he built it, and he ran both of those projects for Argonaut, was Francisco Albalez. So he came and joined us as the COO. So everything I talk about building, everything I talk about, he says the time frame to build this is only 18 months. That's not me in my fancy suit telling you that I'm going to go to Mexico and do that. We know our role. This is who we are, Bjorn. We're a Mexican company. Our group has been a Mexican company for almost 30 years. We have 3 or 4 people that work in Canada, me being one of them. We're the capital raising arm. None of this happens unless we go get the $120 million. But make no mistake, our team in Mexico, led by Francisco, are Mexicans who are amazing miners, geologists, explorers, builders, and mine runners. And that's what really makes us, I think, different. We don't send a bunch of expats to a country like Mexico to run it. These Mexican mining is, the Spanish went there hundreds of years ago. It's a more mature mining jurisdiction than Canada is. Let's face that. So really exciting. Look at those economics. Can't wait to build it. Can't wait to get into the underground. And then, of course, there's going to be a blue sky because the drills are going to start turning again in the fall, and we're just going to keep adding more and more ounces.
Okay, well, that certainly sounds promising. Just a question on the timing. So the permit to build the open pit, is that already in hand, or that will take some time still, right? Or when do you expect that?
Look, let me give I think a very important question, because what's really the Mexican people, like the Canadians, like Americans, like Germans, we're democratic societies, we choose our government. What a wonderful thing. So and our group has been through a lot of different presidents in Mexico. You get a 6-year term. You can only run once pursuant to the Constitution. So, look, I will say that AMLO's administration, he had the full right to do it as the president of the country. It wasn't pro-mining. He was not pro-mining. Let's just face that he wasn't pro-mining. There were not new permits issued. And, I think he had part of his mandate that open pit mining in Mexico would be banned. Now, remember, he would get up and say that every morning for 5 or 6 years. And through that same 5 or 6 years, I get up and say, I don't think, in my logical apprehension, that he's going to do that, because really most of precious metals mining in Mexico goes away if there's no open pit. All copper pretty well goes away. They're number 9 in the world on that, number 1 in the world, 25% of the silver. Concrete is a huge project for them. They've got big hopes for lithium. All of those are open pit. So if it went away, the industry would go away. So I just said logically that, capitalism would prevail. Claudia Sheinbaum has been fantastic. She's only been in as president since October of last year. Very capitalist government. We've been very, very pleased in our dealings with them. And, they said a bunch of modification permits were going to start coming. I think there's been 40 or 50 issued since January 1st. I mean big modifications where, companies like Alamos got modifications for 2,000 ton per day underground mines, Core, Mag Silver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that all being said, where we are is we have an underground permit, which we bought when we acquired that public company in 2017 to get this asset. So when Francisco started, he said, in order to get the pit into production, let's file a modification permit to our existing permit, which are being granted where many have been granted since January. And so that's the process we're in. We think we're very, very close to getting that modification to start the pit. Look, we could go and do the underground as of right now. We have the permit. But the right way to do this is the pit first, as I've explained in the business model. So we're very comfortable that we're going to get that to the point where we've already started with Caps Cassidy, one of the top engineering companies in the world for open pit mining. We've had them for several months now working on final engineering. We're signing the power contracts. We're building the camp to build. We think it's very soon. So the two things you're going to see for the company, I'd like to talk about value proposition. We're very comfortable we're going to get that. And there's been a lot of statements from the government, even at PDAC in Toronto this year. The Minister of Mining, Mr. Aboitez, it was widely published, so I'm just repeating. I was there, but I'm not telling you what I think. It was, Mexico's open for mining. We're issuing modification permits. We're catching up. There's been 40 or 50 of them. Number 3, we'll see new permits. I think he said July, August. That's when they said, so keep an eye for that. And the second thing he said is open pit mining and underground mining in Mexico are treated the same as far as the review of the process. So very positive. We're very close on that. There's going to be 2 re-ratings, I think, for the company. The PEA is going to show really the first economic test of what the underground is going to look like. People are going to go, that's very exciting. And they're going to also realize this is 800 tons per day. And when they read that report, they're going to say, oh boy, like let's say an example. At 800 tons per day for the underground, You just have to be logical. We've already got over 100 million silver equivalent ounces delineated. If we relied on only that 800 ton per day mill, which is the first PEA will be on, it would take us over 30 years to mine all the ore. So people should understand we're going to add a lot more. That's going to have to grow. So that's a real appetizer for what we think that'll be. And look, the big re-rating, someone's going to get a permit, we think, this summer. Could we get the first open pit permit? Yes, I think we could. But it doesn't matter what's going to happen. There's a pent-up energy right now. Everybody waiting for those permits in Mexico. And when they do, I think that's where you're going to see the biggest move in our stock. I really do. PEA will be positive. But when we get that permit for the open pit, maybe the first one, I think you're going to see a really alpha move in our stock price, and then we're going to get down to building, Bjorn, and it's we can't wait. We're already starting all the pre-preparation to do that. The last thing I want to say.
Sure.
Let me say, I got two more things to say. I know we're a little long, but I think people have to hear that. Remember what I said. El Tigre mine, we drilled around that old mine, and we've already put almost 300 million silver equivalent ounces on the books. The old timers from 1908 to 1930 took 100 million silver equivalent ounces, listen to this, at over 2.5 kilos average grade. Their cutoff was 1.2 kilos. Now, that's all done. We're ready to mine that, open pit and underground. That was 2.5 kilometers of this 25 kilometer trend. We're now moved to the north. Up at the north, we haven't talked about it much. We will be in the fall. There's another mine that was at the same time operating by another American company. The land was leased by the American company that owned the Tiger mine, El Tigre, to them. They mined it for the same period. We're up there. We're now underground, very large underground development, just like at El Tigre, which you can see on the website. We've been in one of those shafts over 300 meters. We can't wait to start rinse and repeat, we call it. Let's get some drills up there in the fall. There could be another one sitting right there like the one we have. There's your blue sky for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So very exciting. The last thing I'll say, why buy the stock? People have to understand that. If I was saying, I think I'm going to drill some holes up north and it's going to go well. Yeah, that is going to go well. Stay tuned for the fall. We don't have to do anything. We're going to put that PEA out for the underground. There's going to be real NPV value in that. Wait to see it. But today, our pit has an NPV of 700 million Canadian. We're trading at 200. The companies that Orla, Silvercrest, Gatos, look what MAG just sold for. $2 billion for 44% of Juanicipio in a joint venture. Silvercrest, just to the south, 10 million silver equivalent ounce producer, $2 billion to core. Gatos, half went over $1 billion. Orla, their Camino Rojo pit, to compare, does 110,000 gold ounces a year. They're getting a $2 billion US valuation for that, I think, roughly inside the $3 billion valuation they have with Musselwhite. Just comparisons. Silvercrest produced 10 million silver equivalent ounces. They sold for $2 billion. They're 90 kilometers to the south of us. Our pit will produce, and comparing our pit to Camino Rojo first, we come out of the gate doing 65 to 70,000 gold equivalent ounces in the first year, comparing it to that. Just looking comparables. And the last thing I'll say is, so Silvercrest, 10 million silver equivalent ounce producer, narrow vein underground silver, very profitable, $2 billion, went to core. We're going to produce roughly 5 million silver equivalent ounces out of the pit, and when the underground kicks in, that's going to be over 4 million more. We're almost 10. Do the math from where we are now. Most producers in Mexico trade at 1.1, 1.2 times NPV. So if that's the case, you look at where we are now, you said, why buy it? Well, when we build that pit, if everything holds, could get better with the price, if we trade at 1 times NPV on the pit, forgetting the underground, we'll get value for that. You'll see what that NPV is very soon. I mean, you can see the return there. Exciting times for us. Building the mine is the biggest return. Most people can't make it through the last 10 years of what we went through. Some came, some went, Lassonde curve, discovery down, and then build. We've done all that. We're going up the other side of Lassonde curve. That's where the alpha return is. So if you're interested in that, long term, come with us for a couple of years. We think you're going to have an amazing alpha return in silver as we build it. And on the short term, you've got the PEA, you've got a permit that'll be issued, and you're going to have some really exciting exploration to the north in the fall. Those are the reasons short and long-term investors should really look at us, Bjorn.
Okay, well, certainly good talking to you and hearing all that. But, though I've got the impression we could be talking a lot longer if we all had the time. But I think that's it for now. And thank you very much. And we'll be sure to come back at the latest when one or two or both of the catalysts come about, namely the PEA and or the mining permit. Really looking forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Wonderful. I look forward to coming back, Bjorn, and I really want to thank you for having me on.